Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. My name is Bree. If you are new here, I love to look at like makeup trends for the year, especially like runway makeup trends. And one that I have been seeing over and over again is soft matte skin. So I figured in today's video I would do a little tutorial and show you guys my interpretation of soft matte skin. So if you want to hang out and do a little base tutorial, then just keep on watching. So a lot of the things that I'm going to do in today's video aren't extremely different than what I usually do, just a couple minor changes to take it from my normal routine to kind of a more soft matte look. But I did start out with my NYX Bear With Me spray just to add a little bit of hydration to the skin. And a little fun fact for you guys while I get my things together. This is actually the second time I'm filming this video. I started it yesterday, and by started it I mean I was 20 minutes into, well, I was over 20 minutes, but I was 20 minutes into the clip that I was filming, literally to the point of me saying, I'm gonna go finish up the rest of my makeup off of camera and I'll show you guys the final look. Like, I was done, right? And my camera decided to turn off, and I learned that when my camera just shuts off, it corrupts whatever file it was recording. So I was not about to, like I said, I was basically done. I just had to finish up, you know, this and do my lips. So I was not about to go wash it all off and start over again. So I just decided, whatever, I'll just film it this morning before work. Not annoyed about it at all. Okay, so I also obviously already have on my SPF as well. I always put on an SPF before I do my makeup. You should also always put on SPF before you do your makeup. I'm gonna start out with the e.l.f. Liquid Poreless Putty Primer. This isn't like an extremely mattifying primer by any means, but it does something. I don't know how to explain what it does, but it does something. I really like what it does for my skin. Kind of mattifies, but like not really, but like kind of. And then my next step is incredibly counterintuitive, like incredibly counterintuitive, but I'm gonna take the e.l.f. Halo Glow Liquid Filter. I used to just put this underneath my eyes as kind of like a hydrating, color correcting step. Honestly, now I do that to my whole face. Again, very counterintuitive considering I'm doing a soft matte look and this is obviously very glowy, but I like the extra hydration and I like that it kind of starts to color correct my skin just a little bit. I'm not being like incredibly precise with this at all. I don't need to get it on every centimeter of my face. But see, it kind of just starts to, I don't know, just like color correct my skin a little bit. My nose was rather red. It's more pink now, a little less red. Just my biggest thing when it comes to base makeup is you want to put on enough makeup that it lasts, right? You don't want to put on so little product that your skin just like eats it, you know? But I like to use small amounts of multiple products as opposed to just like large amounts of one product. I would rather, like I'm doing right now, take the Makeup Revolution Eye Bright Corrector and correct underneath my eyes and use less concealer than just cake on concealer fully correct, you know? I am going to take just a little bit of this and hit my nose fold because I do get very red right there. I'm also just going to take a little bit of this on my chin and upper lip, again as like just color correcting because I do have some like acne and acne scarring around that area. Alright, now that I've gone from shiny to satin to very shiny, I'm going to take the A2O Soft Matte Foundation. This is from ShopMissA. I'm going to start out with one pump, and what I like to do is I like to just kind of dot it around my face and then slowly start spreading out the dots. And I already know this isn't enough for my forehead, so I'm going to take like half a pump. And then I like to take a buffing brush. I'm just going to start blending this in, making sure to get the ears and blending down the neck. I didn't quite put enough on my forehead. I also don't like really, like I put a little bit of that e.l.f. Halo Glow, but I don't put any like of the other corrector on my forehead, so it always usually needs just a little bit more product just to make sure everything is completely even. And then I'm going to take a damp damp sponge, I should say. It's not a beauty blender. It's actually the ShopMissA one. And I'm just going to run this over everything. This is going to blend out any brush strokes. It's also going to pick up any excess product. So this foundation on its own will dry down to like a soft satin matte. It probably won't dry down that matte now with like glowy products on underneath, but on its own it is a soft matte foundation. You can kind of see it's a lot more matte on my neck where I didn't take any of that e.l.f. Halo Glow. Next up, I'm going to go in with concealer, and I'm going to use the L'Oreal Full Wear Concealer. And like I said, less is more. I'm not going to re-dip this at all. I'm just going to take a dot, a little bit down my nose, a little bit on my chin, a little bit on my forehead, and then I'm going to take my little applicator. I'm just going to kind of spread this out just a little bit. And just because I am really dark out here, I'm going to put a little bit out there as well. And then I like to let my concealers cook for like 20 seconds or so. I got worried for a second because I got distracted by my phone for a little too long, and this is definitely a more matte concealer, so I was worried about its blending, but we're good. So when it comes to under eyes, I like to start by just bouncing over it, and then I'll start to pull down, pull out, pull down, pull out, grab what's out here, kind of do the same thing, hit down the sides of my nose, and not forget the space over here. When I'm blending out all of my concealer, I always do my under eyes last. That way there's like some product in my sponge, so it doesn't pick up too much from underneath my eyes. So it's definitely where I need the most product, even though I already have, you know, corrector and everything there. Next up, I'm gonna go in with cream bronzer and cream blush. I prefer to do this technique basically no matter what, because I'll lay the color products on my face and then I'll be able to set those with their powder version, and it kind of just, it's less place that I need to put setting powder, if that makes any sense, and that's going to kind of lean towards that more soft matte look. It's going to look less cakey because I'm not covering my whole face in setting powder and then trying to go back in and lay bronzer and blush on top of it. So I'm going to start out with cream bronzer, and I'm going to go in with the Colourpop Bronze Stick in La Jolla Cove. And my preferred method of applying cream products is with a velour puff. So I'm just going to pick some up on here, and then I just start blending it in. I do this with you guys on camera all the time if you're not new to my channel, so now is the part where I can get a little bit more informal, you know. I thinned out my hair the other day. I have a ridiculous amount of hair. Like, I need to put that into perspective. Like, I have so much hair. Like, and it's not even super thick hair, it's just I have so much of it. Maybe I got a big dome, I don't know. A little fun fact for you guys is that I have not had my hair professionally cut since I was in high school. I'm a reformed scene kid, and when I was in high school I wanted the big fluffy scene kid hair, obviously, and I had super long, just straight, no layered hair, like not layered hair at all. And you know, back then especially, you take a picture of of like scene kid hair into a salon, and they didn't know what the fuck to do with it at all. So I went in with super long, like down to my ass, straight hair, no layers, and I came out with a short mullet. So I sobbed like a lot. And basically on that day I said, fuck that, I will do my own hair. I'm a little heavy on the nose bronze there. Let me fix that up. But yeah, the closest that I have come to getting my hair like professionally cut is having my friend who went to cosmetology school cut my hair for me. That's the closest I've gotten. I'm gonna go in with the OIS Higher Standard Satin Matte Cream Blush in the shade Confident. But yeah, I haven't had my hair professionally cut since high school. I have had my hair professionally dyed twice. One time was an absolute fucking nightmare too, so. And the other one again was a different friend who had gone to cosmetology school, and I went to her salon for it, but it was like a friend, so it was more trusted. But yeah, I basically always have done my own hair ever since high school, and I've been dyeing my own hair since I was like 17. And like for the longest time I had platinum hair, like just fucking bright blonde platinum fucking hair, and I would do the whole like fantasy colors, and you know, I did every color under the sun pretty much. And because my hair was so bleached, I basically would let my hair grow out, and then around this time every year I would end up chopping my hair off to like usually about shoulder length to get rid of all that dead growth and like all of the split ends and my fried ends from like heat treating and stuff like that. Within the last couple years, really quick, I'm gonna go in with the Morphe Continuous Prep and Set Mist and just spray down my face for a little extra hydration while that's drying. A couple years ago, I started doing like split dye black and red hair, and I was doing it with semis because that's what I had always done, because I was always so like finicky with my hair. I would change it all the time, you know. And of course with changing it, I was bleaching it and color stripping it and, you know, all that good stuff. And I did the split dye black and red, and I loved it. I loved it so much, but the black would not hold in my hair at all. And it wasn't an issue of needing filler or anything like that. It was just like the black would not hold in my hair. It was so interesting because when it would fade out, it would fade out to my natural hair color despite my hair being blonde underneath, but regardless. But I loved it so much that it got to the point where I was like, fuck it, I'm gonna do this with permanent dye. And so I did the split black and red with permanent for a while. And then it got to the point where I started doing more natural dark red, but I stayed doing it with permanent. And I've been doing permanent dye ever since then. I actually haven't dyed my hair since before we went to New York in September. And before that, I hadn't dyed my hair since like May or June or something like that. So basically what I'm saying is like my hair is actually really healthy. For the past couple months I barely did any heat to it whatsoever because I was working so much, and then I haven't really been dyeing it at all. I really need to dye it, but I just haven't been. And so I was like, you know what? I think I want to like grow out my hair. I think it's time to like just try to see if I can grow out my hair. But on the flip side, because I have so much hair, it takes approximately 87 years to dry. Like if I have to wash my hair, I have to plan it around either days that I'm off or days that I get off early so that I can wash it as early as possible and let it dry as early as possible. I look fucking insane right now. I'm gonna go in with the Flower Beauty Flower Pots blush in Sweet Pea and use that to set down my cream blush. So yeah, it takes my hair forever to dry, like forever and ever and ever to dry. And I was like, maybe I just need to thin it out, you know? Like I had no layers in my hair anymore. Everything had really grown out, and I knew I needed to trim off probably like, I probably needed to trim off more than I did, but again, I wanted to grow it out. So I was like, I need to trim off like at least half an inch or so. And so I, you know, trimmed off a little bit of the length, did a lot of like point cutting to the ends to kind of give it some volume. And then I just honestly, I went in and did my old-fashioned scene kid style cutting of thinning my hair out, where I just take scissors and just go. So now I have all these little choppy layers in my hair, which ironically is actually making it so that my texture spray actually has something to do rather than just adding grit to my hair. I guess it's actually giving my hair like some texture and some volume, and somehow ironically, despite thinning out my hair, my head feels so much lighter than it did. Despite thinning out my hair has way more volume than it did before because there's all these little choppy layers and stuff. But it's been a long time since I've done the little choppy layer look, so I'm kind of vibing with it. And then I'm gonna go in with the Colourpop powder blush in Avila Beach, and I'm gonna set down this bronzer as well. Obviously this technique is going to make your bronzer and your blush look absolutely insane at first because you're setting a color with a color, so it's really intensifying that color. But once I put on some setting powders and just kind of blend everything together nicely, it always ends up working out really well. But I still like, I don't know, it just makes the bronzer and blush last longer because I'm not trying to put a powder bronzer over a bunch of setting powder. And again, it just makes everything look less cakey because I'm not gonna put setting powder all the way out here, you know? But I promise, despite how it looks right now, it will all come together. It is definitely very much like a trust the process kind of vibe, but if you trust the process, it'll be good. Really quick before I set my under eyes, because I just talk a lot, I'm gonna take my sponge. I'm just gonna bounce out any creases in my concealer, being careful to avoid where I just put that blush. Okay, so when it comes to setting my face, I personally prefer to use powder foundations. And I have some powder foundations that I prefer for my under eyes. I have some that I prefer for the rest of my face. I use multiple when I set my face. It is what it is. Do whatever works best for you. But I'm going to start out with the Makeup Revolution Conceal and Define Powder Foundation to set my under eyes. I'm just going to take a smaller brush and looking up. I'm just kind of, on top of setting my under eyes, I'm kind of slowly blending that into the blush to start to soften it. You can kind of already tell the difference between how heavy the blush looks. Since this is a lot more pigmented of a powder foundation as well, I'm going to set the sides of my nose, which is going to start to clean up my nose. I'm also going to set the center, but I'm not putting this over where I would actually want that color product to show. I don't know why, but this is always the powder foundation. It could be the brush size, honestly, that I choose to set between my between my eyebrows, and also set right up here. This going over my eyebrows is honestly much better when I have actual like eyeshadow all the way up there, because it typically helps like finish off that blend. And then this is the one that isn't a powder foundation. This is the e.l.f. Prime and Stay Finishing Powder, but I like this because it has a sheer amount of coverage, but it's also like super blurring. So what I'll do is I'll take this on a larger brush, and I usually set my, like, where my cheeks have pores, and then I will also run this over my blush. And it's gonna soften up my blush quite a bit, but it's a very sheer, very thin powder, so it's not gonna make it cakey. But the biggest reason why I do this is because I'm still gonna contour, and I don't like having any part of my face being unset when I contour because it gets scary. But you can totally see a difference between the two sides. So I do put the majority of the product on the apple of my cheek, and then I just kind of take out any excess over here. And then I'll usually just take this product as well and set down the rest of my nose. I understand that my process of setting my face is rather extra. It works for me, and I genuinely think that if you have a very similar skin type to me, which is like normal to dry, that it would work really well for you as well. And really quick, by the way, in case you were curious about just this foundation, like by itself, you can kind of see on my jawline, it's like kind of natural finish, and it is also relatively transfer proof. It's not like smudging when I run my fingers over it, which is nice. For powder foundation, I'm going to use two, mostly because this one right here, the L'Oreal Age Perfect, is broken and just too yellow for me. And then the other one is the e.l.f. Camo Powder Foundation, which on its own is too cool toned for me because I have the shade 150C, but paired together, they kind of neutralize each other out. So that's what I'm going to use to set down the rest of my face. I keep having to look up in the monitor for two reasons. One, to make sure that my camera is still recording because I'm vaguely traumatized from yesterday. And by traumatized, I mean mostly just very fucking annoyed that I'm here filming this video again. And two, because it's that time of the morning where the sun is like right fucking there. And I am strategically placed. Lower than I was because my feet fell asleep. But I am strategically placed out of the sun, but the sun is coming in right over my mirror, and it's creating these little sunbeams on my mirror that makes it a little bit hard to see. So I can actually see better in my monitor than I can see. Okay, so when it comes to setting my forehead, I'm putting the majority of the product in the space where I obviously didn't put any bronzer, and then I'm just kind of running any excess, which is very little product, and just kind of blending the two together. See how much more normal that looks now that I've set my face? I told you to trust the process. Okay, now is where we get into the fun parts. Kind of fun parts. I'm gonna contour a little bit. This makeup look definitely calls for a contour. I'm using the NYX Sweet Cheeks Matte Blush in So Taupe. And I'm focusing the majority of that color right at my bridge and just kind of dragging the excess down. And then going in with my larger brush, I start out by contouring a cheek. And then I just run this over the sides just to make sure everything's blended. And then taking my bronzer brush with no additional product on it, I'm gonna run this over where I just contoured, up on my forehead, just making sure everything's really nice and blended. I know this is a soft matte look, but the way to make it just a little bit more skin-like, and soft matte doesn't mean completely 100% absolutely matte. I'm gonna go in with the Milani Baked Blush in Petal Primavera on the same brush that I used earlier. Just add in a little layer of blush topper, which is gonna bring just a little bit of glow to my skin and kind of re-intensify that color a little bit, but it's not gonna be so much that it's like a highlight basically. And then instead of a highlight, I'm gonna take the Physicians Formula Butter Glow Powder, which is like a really soft glow, and I'm gonna take a really loose brush. Hold that thought. Sorry, this camera battery is so strange. It's like the display for it is split into thirds, and the first section can last me like 2 videos before it'll even be like, hey, second bar. But once it gets to the second bar, I have approximately 30 seconds before it's gonna go to the red bar, and from there I have about 15 seconds before it just fucking dies. So, which is what happened yesterday, but the second bar I was like finishing up, I had like 15 seconds worth of talking before I was gonna get off camera, and then I would have just switched the battery and it wouldn't have been a problem, right? It never went red. It like never went red. It just died on me on 2 bars, so the second I saw it go to 2, I was like, I gotta get up. But yeah, I'm just taking a really loose brush with this really sheer glowy powder, and I'm just putting it in a couple places. On my nose, and a little bit on my cheeks, and a little bit on my brow bone. And do a little bit right here, but again, it's gonna keep everything looking pretty matte, honestly. I'm gonna go finish up the rest of my face off of camera. I'm gonna show you guys my setting sprays really quick before I do that. Typically, once I'm completely done with powders, I will spray my face with the Morphe Continuous Setting Mist. It just kind of melts all of the powders together. It doesn't change the finish, but it just kind of melts everything together and makes everything look a little bit more like skin. So I'm gonna do that once I do my under eyes. And then once I am completely done with my makeup, again, I'm a little extra with this, but I use 2 different setting sprays. I have the Makeup Revolution Super Fix Super Hold Misting Spray, and then I finish it off with a little bit of the Milani Make It Last. So I'm gonna go do all of that off of camera, and I will be back, and then this video will actually be filmed and I will be happy. Once I had sprayed on all my setting sprays and everything had dried down completely, I actually ended up taking a small brush back into that kind of really thin, a little bit more sheer e.l.f. powder, and just like a little brush, and I just kind of reapplied just a little bit right in like my T-zone, basically, just, and a little bit on my chin, just because, I don't know, maybe it was because I hadn't waited until they were fully dry, I don't know, but I just kind of wanted to mattify out this space just a little bit more, and I think it did the thing. I don't know how I ended up with like the most arched, like carved out eyebrows that I've done in a very long time, but I did. I actually filmed the video today. It actually, you know, I'm here at the end. So we have that going for us. But I love the way that this makeup look turned out. I think that this is just gonna, like, this skin look is just so good. Because realistically, like, look at my chest here. My chest is not shiny. That's just my skin being skin, right? Like, my arms, my hands aren't shiny. I'm not like, you know, super glowy. So I always feel like soft matte skin is like one of, unless you have oily skin, obviously, is like one of the more natural states of skin. It could be because I'm dry, so I associate matte with like looking a little bit more natural for me, because I don't really produce a lot of oils and stuff like that. But yeah, I love the way that this makeup look turned out. It's gonna be great for a full work shift because it's gonna last all day and then some. But I'm gonna wrap up today's video. Comment down below and let me know what your favorite 2024 trend is, and maybe I'll do a video on it. Please subscribe if you have not already. It would mean the world to me. Like this video, ring the bell, do all the things. I hope you guys have an awesome day, and I'll see you guys in my next one. Bye!